What are the people talking about? I go one time. Constable though. Holy shit. What the fuck? Oh boy. Yeah. Oh.
Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth. For several months now, at least since the Republicans and the white right started putting pressure on Biden about the border, he's been intimating that he's got a plan that he was going to be putting in motion. He wouldn't tell anybody what the plan was, but don't worry, there's a plan coming. We've got a plan. It's all going according to plan. And what was that plan? Well, he recently unveiled what the plan is, and the plan is a mass amnesty. As the Aryan propagandist reported, President Biden announced his administration will, in the coming months, allow certain U.S. citizen spouses who don't have legal status to apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship without having to first depart the country. This action on the part of Biden could affect upwards of 500,000 immigrants, according to senior administration officials. Upwards of 500,000. So that means 500,000 is just the floor. This thing could be anywhere from 500,000 to 5 to 6 million to 10 million. Ain't no telling. No limits here. And apparently, Biden doesn't think that there's any sort of feasibility issues for this either. One thing's for sure, no matter how this turns out, this is the thin end of the wedge. If Biden does get reelected, you can expect that he'll be pushing to expand on this plan. It's going to be a matter of, well, we can't just have it for people who have been in the country 10 years or so without residency, people who are in the country illegally for 10 years, because that's basically supposed to be the limitation that was placed on it. Oh, well, you see, an immigrant must have lived in the U.S. for 10 years and be married to a U.S. citizen. Anybody who's been here less than 10 years, why, we couldn't make an exception for you. But of course, that's only for now. Let him get reelected and he'll say, well, you know what? It's just kind of an administration. Hey, it's a matter of social justice, you see. So basically, as long as you're married to a U.S. citizen under any circumstances, it doesn't matter. Biden's poll numbers are tanking, and the white media's asked, what's he going to do about that? Well, he's showing what his plan is. That's what his strategy is going to be. He's betting everything on the immigrant vote. Even though immigration is one of the main things dragging his numbers down, but he thinks the problem is just about him not enforcing the border. It's also about his clear intention to give a mass amnesty of some sort, because everybody can tell that's what's coming. That's what his idea is. This is politically radioactive, and yet that's the direction that he is adamantly going in. Nobody wants this policy, but he's ignoring all of that. So when he tries to tell you and me that the reason that they don't mention reparations is because it's unpopular, well, this policy certainly isn't more popular than reparations, and yet we're not hearing any of that talk about it's not feasible, or it's unpopular, or there's just not enough support. He ain't saying anything about that. Congressional laws? Law hell, he's trying to do this just on his authority as president. Because this is understood to be part of the Democratic Party's super objective of supplanting the black vote by creating a new voting bloc, one that they hope will be more pliable. This is part of a long-term plan that both the white left and the white right, truth be told, are in support of. Biden knows how unpopular this is, which is why he's been forced to make a phony show of concern about the border and take a few token gestures to increase security there, but it's all for show. It's nothing. This issue is one of the main things bogging him down. The white right has effectively used this as an attack against him. So he felt like he had to be seen as doing something, seen to be doing something, while at the same time, not actually doing anything at all. That's why he went down to the border for that photo op. Go ahead and show him standing in front of those rusted little gates. All right then, see, I'm down here. See, I'm down here. You can't say that I haven't gone to the border. I've been to the border now. And that's what this is about. So this is his counter to all of that bad PR that he's been getting. That's what this is, a PR maneuver. He wants to placate what he hopes to be a new voting bloc for the Democrats, while at the same time pacifying the individuals who are saying, if only he would go to the border. Yeah, he's gone down there and it changed nothing. He's walking a tightrope here, but his real intentions are clear. He made a big show of what the white media called his border crackdown. But tell me something, how many people were turned away by the border crackdown, much less removed? How many? Very, very few. His security theater on the border wasn't his actual policy. This was. And this policy has not merely had a deleterious effect on the black community, it has had a disastrous one on the black community. Because what happens is, when it comes time to talk about the money, particularly jobs, particularly housing and everything else, what we find is, predictably, the powers that be, who are anti-black to begin with, they're bending over backwards to make sure that they accommodate people who are not black. Doesn't matter if they're in the country illegally or not. That's the entire problem.
New shelter for migrant families is now open on the northwest side.
It's meant to ease maximum state policies being imposed by the city and state. And WGN's Dana Rebick live at Portage Park with more on this. Dana?
Well, Mayor Brandon Johnson and as well as some county and city leaders have been here for the last hour or so as part of a grand opening ceremony of this new shelter. We are told that 50 migrants are already living in the church's convent building, and another 250 will move into the church's school in just a few weeks.
I know that your journey here has been long and difficult, but today marks the end of that journey.
It's the latest migrant shelter to open its doors in Chicago.
It's not just about having a home and having a hot meal. It's about making us whole as humans. And we deserve joy. We deserve laughter. And the children deserve that.
And of course, what never gets mentioned in the middle of all of this is that the very individuals who have been advocating for this policy are among the most virulent anti-black racists that you'll find. The individuals who are coming in from these countries also come from cultures that practice hyper-aggressive anti-black racism. So for the white supremacists, this is seen as bringing in reinforcements. That's how this is perceived, because that's what to them this actually is. So you don't see any support from black people coming from any of these people who are saying, let's go ahead and throw the doors open for anyone who wants to be here, or to legalize anyone who has broken the law and been here for decades illegally. Start actually looking at the names of those people and look at their backgrounds, look at the stances that they've taken for anything that black people have advocated for. You immediately find that these immigration cheerleaders happen to be the most aggressive anti-black zealots out there. And these are the people who we see Biden cheering on and supporting. As far as they're concerned, immigration is a solution to the political pressure that black Americans have been putting on white power. So over the massive objections of black Americans, we find this is what the Democratic Party's been pushing for, and the Republican Party hasn't been doing anything about it. No matter how much caterwauling they may do, when it comes time to actually put laws on the books and then aggressively enforce them, the GOP is rhetorically different from the Democrats, but practically no different at all. There's people who have knowingly been in the country illegally for years, if not decades, and they're openly telling the government and the citizenry that they're not going anywhere, and now they're saying you're going to change your laws to accommodate us, you're going to change policy to accommodate us. And you have the government, absurdly, who's bending over backwards to do exactly that. This is not the rule of law, it's the rule of political expediency. And where is the Congressional Black Caucus at to stand up for their black constituents? Well, they're championing Biden's policy, of course. These puppets were chosen by, funded by, and put in office by white power. The housing crisis has had its sharpest and harshest effect on black Americans. We're the first ones to be foreclosed on or evicted, put out in the streets. A disproportionate number of the homeless are black Americans. But you wouldn't know it by how the Congressional Black Caucus has been reacting. As far as they're concerned, black people are doing just fine. Black residents are up in arms from New York to Chicago to LA to all points in between, and yet these people are bending over backwards to prioritize illegal aliens over black citizens. But then again, as I've documented for you on this channel, a disproportionate number of the Congressional Black Caucus are themselves immigrants. They have open contempt for black Americans despite being black themselves. They'll wave the flag for immigrants all day because that's what they see themselves as. That's what they want to be considered as. They're trying to escape being considered black at all. So they're making a show of how little regard they have for us. Illegal aliens are not a constituency because they can't vote. But we see Democrats trying to change that. This has nothing to do with uniting families or with providing opportunities or jobs that Americans don't want to do or any of that other empty rhetoric.
Meanwhile, hotels in Santa Monica and Los Angeles are being accused of hiring migrants to replace striking workers. The LA County District Attorney's Office and the Hotel Workers Union now saying some of the hotels are exploiting the desperation of the migrants by giving them these jobs without paying them fair wages. The group making the accusation say some of the migrants even hired were on the buses sent to LA from Texas.
The Democrats have worked tirelessly to destroy families through their support for catastrophic laws like the 94 crime bill, aka Biden's law, And they have aggressively blocked all kinds of opportunities for Black Americans. This is about policy continuity, full stop, and you can tell what the policy is. Billions for Israel, hundreds of millions to accommodate, house, and give jobs and now citizenship to illegal aliens, while totally ignoring Black citizens who have been here the whole time. This is the reason that Biden is not too keen on doing any sort of town halls or having any sort of actual substantive contact with Black residents and Black Americans on the campaign trail, because these are the kind of policies and the kind of questions he doesn't want to have to answer for. For all the Biden bots out there who said that Biden would be too afraid of a Black political backlash to ignore us, you said that back in 2020. Does this look like he's afraid of Black voters to you? The cowardice that Black people showed in 2020 is what led directly to this. When you bend the knee to someone who spent his entire life being politically hostile towards you, when you give your vote without forcing that individual to make solid pledges to give you the tangibles you require, then they already know you're not going to do anything once they're in office. Of course he ignored Black voters, because nobody takes a sucker seriously. 2020 was a game of political chicken, and Black voters flinched. The white left was trying to see if the Black vote would stay home in 2020 like we did in 2016. They wanted to see if that was a fluke. Was it a one-off? Or would we stick to our guns and show them that we had a new normal in place and that we could deny them the presidency multiple times and we would do it? See, white power counts on Black people getting a full head of steam about something and pulling a maneuver once. What they don't count on is it becoming the new normal. And Black people showed that we hadn't politically matured to the point where we were willing to do that. Now, there are a lot of Black folks out there who may have felt that their fear or their disdain for Trump was justified in making sure that they put Biden in the presidency in 2020, but we can't make decisions based on fear or emotion. We have to make them based on pragmatism. Without the Democrats having changed their belligerent anti-Black stance, voting for Biden makes no more sense than voting for Trump. In fact, it's actually worse, because we don't have the ability to put much pressure on the white right. We can, however, with persistence, have an effect on the white left, but not if we keep being consistently inconsistent. There's an enormous housing crisis in the U.S., and Black people are catching the worst of it. Yet we are told every single day that there's simply nothing that all of these Democrat mayors and governors and presidents can do about it. Yet these same individuals for years now have overnight been able to easily find millions of dollars to house millions of people who have come to the U.S. illegally. And now they've moved on to the next logical step, which is now that we've gone ahead and accommodated them, we need to go all the way and just go ahead and say that they're citizens now. And when they do become citizens, we know who we want them to be voting for. Accommodate them economically, and they'll accommodate the Democrats politically. At least that's the working theory, though history has shown that this only worked short term, only for a few years at the very beginning. After that, these same immigrants immediately make common cause with the white right. But the Democrats aren't really concerned about that, because as Rahm Emanuel and others have shown, they're already trying to pivot to the white right, to the casual racist. Bill Clinton did that effectively, and Barack Obama refined and expanded on Bill Clinton's stance. So as far as the Democrats are concerned, it doesn't matter if these guys start tending to the right. That's part of the Democrats' political policy anyway. That's the direction the Democrats would like to go in. What we need is for Black people to understand when they're being played for suckers. We also need Black people to understand this is the result of voting against your interest. When you tell somebody I'll vote for you, even when this person says I'm going to prioritize people who are not citizens over you, this is what happens. Joe Biden has not gone to any Black neighborhood and made it very clear what he's going to be bringing to those Black neighborhoods. But he did make sure that he went down to the border and said, you guys are going to be taken care of. Don't worry, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. Now, sure, that's definitely not what Black voters wanted in 2020 or any other year for that matter. But that is what Black voters voted for, because that's what Biden made it clear was going to be his policy from the very beginning. But you have people who are crossing their fingers and telling themselves little lies and saying, well, when he gets in there, surely he wouldn't do that. And as you see, surely he did. The moral of this particular story is reality isn't going to change just because you hide your head in the sand. If you persist in being politically unrealistic, sooner or later circumstances will force you to see the reality. But at that point, the question will no longer be whether or not you're going to get what you've demanded. Instead, the only question will be whether it's too late. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors.
Same old shit, just a different day. As usual.
Folks, the other day, WFAA Channel 8 out of Dallas reported
that Pastor Robert Morris, who leads the Gateway Church in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, they around 100,000 some odd people every weekend convene there. They reported that he expressed a moral failing years ago that he said he told the church elders about, and that they dealt with him, and how he sat out, and it was all this other little stuff that they had announced. Well, guess what? He's been getting it. First of all, he's described as a young woman. She wasn't a young woman. She was 12 years old. Well, since that story was broken, all hell is broken loose. About 48 hours later, Morris is out. This is the same Morris who you saw that video right there, sitting right next to Donald Trump, who's one of the folks who was a supporter of Trump and a spiritual advisor, if you will, to him. And so this is the statement from the Board of Elders of Gateway Church regarding the resignation of Robert Morris. Today, June 18th, the Board of Elders of Gateway Church accepted the resignation of Robert Morris, the senior pastor. In addition, the board has retained the law firm of Haynes & Boone LLP to conduct an independent, thorough, and professional review of the report of past abuse to ensure we have a complete understanding of the events from 1982 to 1987. Regretfully, prior to Friday, June 14th, the elders did not have all of the facts of the inappropriate relationship between Morris and the victim, including her age at the time and the length of the abuse. The elders' prior understanding was that Morris's extramarital relationship, which he had discussed many times throughout his ministry, was with a, quote, young lady, unquote, and not abuse of a 12-year-old child. Even though it occurred many years before Gateway was established, as leaders of the church, we regret that we did not have the information that we now have. We are heartbroken and appalled by what has come to light over the past few days, and we express our deep sympathy to the victim and her family. For the sake of the victim, we're thankful this situation has been exposed. We know many have been affected by this. We understand that you are hurting, and we are very sorry. It is our prayer that in time, healing for all those affected can occur. So what you have here, Candace, is a church playing Cover Your Ass. He stood out there and talked about what they did and how they sat him down and how he was away for 2 years. It was actually like a month. And they excused it. He was 21 years old. He did not have sexual intercourse, he did not have sexual intercourse with this woman when she was 12. The woman now, she went public, told a story to WFAA, assistant hired attorney as well. But she talked about how this took place, him kissing and groping her over several years. And it was crazy to watch some of these people literally offered defenses of him. It was insane. In fact, this woman here is the founder of a church in Weatherford, Texas. And this is what Barbara Phillips Littlepage said. And if you go to that church, you need to be running like crazy. She said, I want people to not judge Robert Morris because of a mistake he made over 30 years ago. Some young girls at 12 years old are very beautiful and sexy. They don't understand how men are made, and young men don't understand their actions are used by the devil to ruin a future God has for them. Other godly men have been distracted by Satan. That's why older men need to mentor young men. Young men don't realize how Satan will try to destroy their futures with their families and ministries. Candace, Robert Morris was 21 years old. The woman today at that time was 12. She was a girl. She wasn't even a teenager. She was a 12-year-old girl.
And notice how they tried to frame it as an extramarital relationship.
Yeah.
This was a girl. I mean, I can hardly get through this sentence or this segment. This is a girl really had no idea even who she was. And here he is, and here the church is, and here you've read the
Osteen, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, and now the pastor of Gateway Church. Y'all think I ain't in the know? Everything you see on my page is happening in real time, and these destructive behaviors with all these people who are all out here on this YouTube platform doing all these wrong, deviant things, and they can rise up on YouTube and continue to prosper and profit. And these are prophets, if you will. People look up to them, and they're liars, child molesters, abusers, drug addicts, homosexuals, thieves. You see what I'm saying? And these are your leaders. Rubbing elbows with corrupt politicians, going to freak-offs with P. Diddy, T.D. Jakes. Come on, man. We ain't talking about shit that don't matter. The trap guy is right here in the know. In the now. 2024. And what y'all doing with me? The white hand of supremacy is living large. Living large. Look at all these around us. Look at it all. Am I doing crimes like that? No. I can't rise up though, right? All he has to do is resign. Tell him all those lies that these women, and they're the ones that do it the most, cover up. And that's only because he's breaking them off something. 90% of the time when men are doing things like that and they see it's within their character, I'm ashamed to say this, but a lot of them women will bring them girls to that man. If he was an alcoholic or a drug user, they would bring them drugs to that man. Enablers, protectors. We ain't talking about no lies. We talking about a person who has personal problems, unresolved issues, things that need to be taken care of. Just because somebody maturates or matures into a level of some sort of career, if they got a habit or a stronghold on them that's out of control or that's been revealed, you remove them instantly and get them therapeutic and psychological help for their mishaps. Or you institutionalize them and make them pay for their behavior financially and with time. But y'all don't hear me though. Y'all just think I'm just some yipping and yapping crazy ass black nigga running around here just rapping. This is just a trap game. This is just this rap game. I am the nigga that goes so fucking hard in these streets. And y'all got these pastors who y'all look up to. Y'all get dressed up shiny and looking nice to walk up into a church and sit y'all funky asses down, and all three of them pastors I named, and they dirty behind closed doors. And guess what? I worked for that man for 4 years. in all the gateway churches. Nose to nose. The trap guy. Check my background and you will see I did details. Come on now. Y'all ain't talking about a fake one. I am a real one. Check my paperwork. Ask anybody. Pull up DOT and you'll see. Or rather, Tops, and you'll see. Put my first real name and last real name. And check the list of shit that I done. It'll fuck your head up to know the trap guy here in North Texas has been all over this motherfucker working in the underground. And I ain't scared to say that. I just don't use that like somebody say, yeah, I was an X this and an X that in law enforcement. No, I never was a cop. Me, never, ever, 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 ever was a police officer. So don't try to say that shit. And people have tried to put that on me as well. Trying to say, he said he was a law enforcement officer. I never said that. Never tried to act like I was. Don't worry about what I do. You just pull it up and you can track it down for yourself. And I have no problem with that because I speak the real. But this is real live. This is information that's out there in the public. This is a public figure. All these church men who guide you in your spiritual source are out here doing corruption. And you live up to their expectations. You give your financial means to them and don't give me a motherfucking dime for my time. I can't even get 1,000 people to subscribe to me. Over all these many years, what is it that I could have done so wrong? Not a goddamn thing. That's just that white hand of supremacy that holds an outspoken person down. Y'all ain't shit, you ain't gonna never be shit. The reality behind it all is that you do whatever you want. Over time, it's going to be revealed all the wrong you've ever done. When you die, your legacy and everything you've ever talked about over these social media streets will be revealed, and you will be paying for what you've done wrong. Your sins. And them hoes, them women, and those men who are responsible for allowing you to do that should be held accountable too. I'll let you hear the rest of this bullshit. I ain't making this up. This is real.
Statement from someone in the church that they're trying to make it seem like it was pretty much her fault.
He actually called it, Candace, inappropriate and a moral failure.
And by the way, some of the statements as they've been describing how it happened, they made it seem like it was one time. Well, one time is enough. And besides that, this was over years. This was over years. You know, you think about this pastor, you think about Tony Evans, you think about, the fact that Tony Evans said, listen, I haven't committed a crime. Here, a crime was committed. This man is a pedophile at 12 years. He groomed this young woman, 12 years old to 16 years old. She hadn't even attended a junior prom yet, and she's, sleeping with this pastor, or, no sexual contact. We got the groping and kissing, but they didn't have intercourse. But that was a grooming process. Lord only knows why he stopped. Lord only knows, what really happened inside of that, where it all ended. And he is going to have a lot of people questioning him, and it won't just be from the church. is going to be from the authorities' role.
Well, and see what really happened, what really just, how this thing just took off, Larry, you started seeing churches tied to them. And this is a very prominent right-wing church. They are aligned with many social conservatives. And so you have a lot of churches that are underneath their umbrella, but they act as overseer. In fact, this church in Fort Worth, again, right-wing church, Mercy Culture, they released their own statement. They say Morris never disclosed to them the age of the girl that he abused. And so you see their statement where they lay out these various thoughts. And so here's what was happening. The avalanche was coming. You were seeing church after church. You were about to see mass resignations. And so I don't know how in the hell he thought he could just get away with, oh, it was an inappropriate moral failure. Dude, you were 21 years old and you were feeling up on and you were kissing. You were sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl over a period of years.
He's a predator, Roland. Let's call him for what it is. And this is a part of a larger conversation. It's connected to our previous conversation about the kind of behaviors based on ideology that folks seem to turn a blind eye to. Let's also make sure that we make a connection. We saw for years, we've known found out the last several years, we saw that the Catholic Church, and that there were thousands of children worldwide that were sexually abused. And so this is a part of we have a larger conversation in our society about particularly protecting children, particularly from young girls, from individuals who are predators. The other point I want to make, Roland, is you showed that side by side with the former president of the United States, is that predators, as we know in the wild, travel in packs. And so we need to make sure, Americans need to make sure that you understand exactly what's happening here in the homes and various churches and these various other places at times with individuals who assert to be religious leaders and believe in the Bible. This is not behavior consistent with the Bible. This is illegal behavior by predators who once again are traveling in packs and are often using ideology to mask their behavior.
You cannot convince me, Joy, that this was a one-time thing.
Correct.
Trust me, I think these folks are bracing for more women to now come forward.
That's right. Or current girls. I assure you, it's not a one-time thing. It's never a one-time thing. And Larry is right. They travel in packs. So I'm willing to bet there were people that not only assisted, aided, and abetted this story, because I promise you, someone knew the age of the girl. Someone did. This is a time where people use the Google and they understand. There were whispers. There are always whispers. And then I bet there are those who were doing the same thing and they covered for each other. That is what happens every time. And so, I think it's a reminder that when people say they care about children and they care about life, it's not the words that count. It's what happens when it's someone that you respect, that you love, that's your leader. Do you call them out? Do you say no to sexual harassment when it's your brother, when it's your husband, when it's your father, when it's your friend, when it's your pastor? Do you say no to sexual abuse when it's someone in a position of authority that you care about, that you had faith in? That's when we know, does the person care about children? Do they care about the life of people who are young and vulnerable, which is what they tell us when they strip us of our reproductive freedoms, that's what they're caring for? They don't care for it. It's a lie. It's a lie. The same lie that we know has happened in the Catholic Church, frankly, in the Baptist Church, frankly, everywhere where you have powerful people who are allowed to abuse the less powerful. So we'll learn more about this. Their lawyers are in for a long slog.
Now, and so I'm going to play this video here, y'all, because, 2014 sermon, this tweet says, don't go to it yet, says, in 2014 sermon, Robert Morris frames his, quote, sexual immorality, unquote, as occurring when he was a teenager
and before he was ever saved. Mind you, the girl was 12. He was in his 20s, was married, and was also a minister. That's a whole lot going on. Listen to this.
I was very sexually immoral as a teenager. And it started early in my life, and it was very easy for me. I learned to lie and manipulate. Because I also had rejection, I didn't want to be rejected. So I looked for the girls that would be the most susceptible. And I learned how to spot this in girls. I looked for girls that did not have a good relationship with their father. I learned to spot that. I looked for girls that were insecure. And I don't know, now I look back on this, I can tell I did it. It wasn't like a plan that I had, but I could spot this. And I asked the Lord after I got saved, God, what was the root? Why? You know, they said I was blessed. I know I wasn't blessed, I was cursed. Multiple affairs. And I don't understand this, God. And so what was the root? What was the open door in my life? I was very sexually immoral.
So, again, so here's the deal. This is the interesting part here, Candy. You hit on it earlier. He tried to frame this as, I was a teenager, they were teenagers, oh, I had affairs. No, dude, you are a grown-ass man messing with a 12-year-old. And what you just heard him say is literally the Predator playbook.
Yeah, he told us his plan, and you're right. That's what they do. They groom young women, and they also look for the signs, as he said. The weak relationship with the father, somebody who's insecure. And he was in a position of power so that these young women would look up to them. And he thought that by saying this, and I don't know when this was recorded, but he felt any
lack of ownership, lack of accountability, and he did not accept fault to truthfulness. He's still trying to make us believe that that was appropriate instead of speaking exactly what you're supposed to be speaking. But he should have no fucking voice. No one should be listening to him, period. Immediately when you found out that he did this, cancel culture, obsolete, set him down, get his ass in therapy, and allow the system itself to take over ownership of what it's supposed to do. The church itself should be cleansed of all that around within the within his movement of being allowed to do that. And everybody that was harmed should have had their therapy as well. We're not playing armchair quarterback with this shit, man. Like they said about predators, they run in packs. Trump, his crazy ass behaviors, and he's rubbing elbows, not just because of money and power and politics and the right-wing extremists and political maneuvering. This right here is sexual inappropriateness at its highest level by men who are just like I am. Just because I'm not in Hollywood, or I'm not a political figure, or I'm not somebody you consider to be somebody, don't mean I don't have a voice in this. And I'm not stomping on his parade. My voice is nothing. But I know right from wrong. And I know this is wrong, and y'all know it's wrong. But we always want to put blinders on because of popularity, fame, and positioning in life. Y'all some lame motherfuckers for this shit right here, and with all those pastors that are doing deviant things. This is our future. kids that will become adults who's going to speak about it. Even if some of these kids are doing things to make an adult act a crazy way. 21 years old, you should know better. But if you allow yourself as a 14-year-old child to be seducing in any kind of way a grown person without telling another adult that you're doing wrong as well is a sin as well. Y'all need to just get a hold of yourselves and stop protecting these predators. You start a behavior, it's hard for you to stop doing. You're only human. But some shit ain't forgivable. It's a trap god. I'm getting off here, man. I'm not just some old ignorant ass nigga riding around here doing what I'm doing and y'all hear me and you want to pull me down, you want to treat me like shit, you don't never want me to rise up. Oh, talking heads talk about this shit all day fucking long. And they get paid for it. They get up every single day and walk in the studio behind the desk on CNN, NBC, ABC, Fox, all these newspapers, magazines, social media platforms, women in their houses, in the neighborhood, police officers, judges, lawyers, teachers, doctors, just the regular Joe Blows talk about this shit every day. And you want to fuck with me, the trap god? And that's my persona, my government name. And if you sat me down and talked to you, I will tell you the same damn thing. I didn't do it, they did it. And y'all see them in broad daylight, and guess what y'all doing? Showing up at their churches, writing $1,000 checks, or whatever your tithe is, associating with churches that should be shunned upon. The doors of those churches should be closed until everything is cleansed in the right way. On all of them, Osteen, T.D. Jakes, and this Morris. All those churches. But y'all won't do it. Y'all gloss over it and keep it going like nothing happened. One bad apple, right? It's a trap god. Welcome to America.